What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here, PackersNews.com, live on Facebook late in the day on Wednesday. Not a whole heck of a lot going on, Packers news-wise. The rookies are set to hit Green Bay, I believe, on Thursday afternoon. We will be introduced to them and the rookie minicamp on Friday. And other than that, just thought I'd jump on, see what's going on in the world of Facebook and Packer fans in general. See if you have questions, anything you want to talk about. Hopefully you're checking PackersNews.com each and every day for all the latest on the green and gold. We've got lots of profiles up on some of the draft picks from their hometown coverage that we've repurposed for PackersNews.com, so make sure you check all that out. Jeff, what will I do when you're not on when I'm not on every day? Spend time with your family, clearly. North Hudson, what's up? Nick, the weather is hot, real hot. So hot, cook things in my short. It's that hot. What do you see as a ceiling for Vasquez? It's really impossible to say. I mean, I know everybody wants to look at college tape and make projections. That's what scouts do. That's what they're paid the big bucks to do. It's really impossible to say until we see these guys step on a field and take on NFL talent. Some guys who look great on college tape, it just never translates. And even then, if we see them on the field in camp or OTAs, what have you, it doesn't really mean much until they put their pads on. You know, the rubber will meet the road in August. But right now, it'll be interesting to see what guys measure up physically and how quickly they pick up the playbook and things like that. North Korea, what's up? Good day, Eric. How are you? How long will they extend Rodgers for? Peter, that's a good question. I think a big part of that will be dependent on the structure of the deal when it comes to the guaranteed money. Obviously, the Vikings kept their fully guaranteed contract with Kirk Cousins to 3 years. I tend to think the Packers will want to lock Rodgers up a little longer than that, and I would be very surprised if they were willing to give a fully guaranteed deal much longer than that. But that said, I'm sure all possibilities will be on the table, and once Matt Ryan gets his deal done, I think we'll start to see some forward movement. We'll hear reportage of forward movement on that deal. Haha said on Twitter he will play better this year. He did indeed. I thought that was very interesting. Obviously coming in at number 100, I believe, or 99 on the NFL's annual top 100 list, as voted on by his peers. And he did acknowledge a down year, which, to my mind, I think that's probably the first time publicly that he's said anything even close to that. And at least it's good to know that he is acknowledging what a lot of us saw throughout the season. Not up to his regular standard for most of the year, obviously, especially in Detroit there in Week 17. But, an admission there, and I think some acknowledgement that it's going into the final year of his deal. He needs to pick it up. Grab Shane away from the Broncos. I saw a former first-round pick is available for trade, reportedly. I would be very surprised if the Packers moved any kind of draft capital to go get him. Maybe if he ends up being released, they would make a run at him, but I can't imagine, especially fresh off the draft, that Gutekunst would then turn around and try and trade for him. It's not impossible, but it just doesn't sound like Brian's MO. Leroy Butler, all 90s team, no Hall of Fame is a travesty. In the sense of the Hall of Fame, yes, it is absolutely ridiculous that Leroy Butler is not in the Hall of Fame. I've been saying it for what seems like forever. And now that Jerry Kramer is in, hopefully Packers fans and the machinery around Green Bay will start to grind its gears for Leroy, because it is markedly absurd and really diminishes the legitimacy of the Hall that Leroy's not in it. Can Jackson play man coverage, Jared? That's what we're going to find out. I know a lot has been made in the scouting community in the lead up to the draft about his ability with his eyes on the quarterback and in zone. Some more questions when it comes to man. I think he's got those long arms. You would think he'd be able to use it to press guys at the line of scrimmage and play some press man. That's what Joe Witt Jr. and those guys will find out starting this weekend. Could they use 2 first-round picks next year to move up for a potential future quarterback? Absolutely. I don't think that's the plan. but you never know. Maybe they have their eye on someone in next year's draft class. But, you know, if the year plays out and for whatever reason they decide it's time to start looking for Rodgers' heir apparent, they have the ammunition to do so. I still think it's a little early for that, but you can't rule it out. Sterling Sharp deserves a gold jacket more than Leroy. Whoo, could not disagree more there. I think Sterling Sharp's an amazing player, or was an amazing player, but he would no way, shape, or form should be in the Hall prior to Leroy Butler. Not even close. Any chance they bring in another veteran linebacker now that the draft is over? Bob, I tend to doubt it. I think they'll go with what they got and see what shakes out from the undrafted free agent class. Maybe if someone gets let loose and they can bring somebody in on a cheap 1-year veterans minimum deal. But I doubt they'll bring anyone in prior to going to OTAs. Ian, I just talked about the Shane Ray thing. I tend to doubt it. Maybe if he gets cut, but I don't think they're going to give up draft capital for him. Heidi, Des Bryant 1-year contract. Well, Adam Schefter reported this afternoon that the Ravens offered Bryant $7 million for 1 year, and he turned them down. There's no way the Packers are offering him that much. At least I'd be shocked if they did. If he were to come to Green Bay, I think for the Packers, maybe a $1 million deal is what they would be looking at, probably less. I just can't even imagine them offering him $7 million. They've got roughly between 15 and 16 million left in cap space. 3 or 4 of that's going to go to the rookie class. I can't imagine them basically eating the rest of it up on one player. I just don't see that happening. Is Ryan or Burks the starter? Good question, Jonah. I think it really depends on who they're facing and what the offense comes out in, personnel-wise. You know, Patton's done a lot of talking, and his history also suggests that he's very game plan specific from week to week as far as how he wants to attack an offense. If it's, you know, a ground and pound type team, uses a lot of heavy formations, and they come out, you know, first play as such, I expect Ryan to get the call. If it's a spread team that likes to throw it around the yard, I think Burks gets the call. You know, now we have to see if Burks can play, of course. Obviously, he's a draft pick and will be given every opportunity to prove that he can, but it's just no given that he just steps right in and picks everything up and is starting. Where will McCray fit in? Steve, I continue to say, I've said it all offseason, I think he's your starting right guard. I know some people are reticent when it comes to that idea. I think they'll have plenty of competition. Obviously, they drafted a lineman that they project inside, but I think that's McCray's job. Now, maybe they decide that they want to get Jari Evans as kind of backup / depth insurance, and they sign him. But to my eyes, I think McCray will at least start the offseason as the starter at right guard. There's been nothing official there, obviously, but we'll see once OTAs begin. Have you met our draft picks yet? No, we have not. The rookies get in this weekend. I believe they get into town tomorrow, and then we have our first availability on Friday. I won't be there. I'll be here in New York, but we'll have plenty of coverage of all the guys coming into Green Bay. EQ outplays Gmo and becomes the third wide receiver. It's a possibility. Can't totally dismiss it. I mentioned something about that on Twitter this morning, though, because someone had asked me about, you know, likelihoods and how I saw things playing out. And like I said earlier in this video, it's way too early to make any kind of determinations based off strictly just college tape. But I will say this. The one thing Geronimo Allison has going for him is the trust of the quarterback. Obviously, we've seen Jeff Janis come and go, having never earned that trust. And Geronimo earned it early on in his very first camp. It's one of the reasons he got to stick around as an undrafted free agent, although, you know, obviously that was on the practice squad. But, you know, they kept him around because Rodgers never hesitated to throw to him in any situation. He still doesn't. That's huge. That's obviously no easy task. So these 3 rookie wide receivers, as exciting as they are and as much potential as they hold, you know, they've got to come, they've got to do it down in, down out, day in, day out. And they've got to prove to Rodgers that they're going to be where they're supposed to be. They're going to have to show that they can read things at the line of scrimmage. When they get off a jam, say, is the defense in cover 2? Have they switched to man? Is it a combo? Is this guy playing inside leverage? Does that mean, am I supposed to break outside? And this is all like that they have to make all these determinations. So, it's obviously they've done some of that at the college level, but nothing near what they're going to be doing starting this weekend in Green Bay. Does Rodgers need to do more to work with new receivers to gain that trust? I mean, do more. He's going to practice with them. I don't think this is a Favre situation where he's going to shun his younger teammates. But, I don't think they're about to, he's going to fly them out to California when they take their summer break or anything. Although maybe he will. Who knows? But it's their job. This isn't, any show friends. It's show business. These guys got to get on the right page. What else we got, guys? How's Kevin King's injury? James, by all accounts, it's 100%. Now, we haven't seen him at all. We'll do that once the OTAs start up. But everything we've heard is A-OK. And I've asked around behind the scenes. Haven't gotten confirmation one way or the other, but that doesn't mean anything because they never talk about injuries at all. But from everything they've told us, he's right as rain, 100% good to go. Jones going to be the number one running back or Williams? Well, James, I think a lot of that will play out over the offseason, especially in camp. I've said it all offseason. I'll continue to say it. If and when Aaron Jones gets down pass protection, when he shows that he's reliable down in and down out, he will run away with that job. No pun intended. But he's a superior back with better vision, better athleticism. He's able to set up blocks really well, and that's not to take anything away from Jamal Williams because he showed last year that he can carry the load. But I think Aaron Jones is on another level. His big detriment right now, or has been, in pass protection, and if he can improve there, even to the point where he's just competent and reliable, he should be on the field a whole heck of a lot more. Let's see, how much is too much for Aaron Rodgers? 12, Peter. $100 million. I start there, and then you probably just work your way up. Are you surprised Gutekunst wants to keep Bulaga around? Yes and no. Obviously there's been a lot made out of that in the last couple, since the draft, basically, when it became apparent they weren't going to draft his replacement. And you look on the roster and you really don't see anybody that you really trust if Bulaga is slow to start or unable to go. So it sure seems like Gutekunst's plan is to roll with Bulaga and whatever else is behind him until Bulaga is healthy. I am a bit surprised. That feels a bit reckless. If Bulaga has shown anything over the course of his career, it's that he's unable to stay on the field consistently. Obviously, he plays at a very high level when he's on the field. But, this is a number of injuries now that have robbed him of a whole lot of games. You're the new general manager. You've got the chance to come in and make changes, and no one's gonna. You don't have. You've shown with the Jordy Nelson move, you're not gonna be beholden to emotional decisions. So I guess he's banking on Bulaga's upside being when he's on the field, he's got an elite right tackle. Problem obviously is that Bulaga hasn't been able to stay on the field, and he has not an exorbitant amount of salary cap space, but it's a fair amount. I think roughly around $5 million that they could do away with if they so chose. But for now, sure seems like the plan is to stick with Bulaga. What's a likely number of wide receivers they keep on the 53? That's a good question. I know they've bounced between 5, 6, and even 7 the last 5 years or so. I can't imagine going with 7 receivers again, but anything's possible. They've shown that if they have strong numbers at a position, they're not afraid to go a little bit over. Everyone remembers when they kept, 5 tight ends back in the day, or 3 fullbacks. That was obviously Thompson, but that was in concert with McCarthy. But I would think 6 would be the max, but I say that now. Fast forward to September, and I could have 7. Who knows? Is it true the NFL is thinking about removing kickoffs to cut down on concussions? Yes, it is true. They had a owner and player meeting today regarding safety and the kickoff in specifically was talked about, and they are already coming up with proposals for this season not to do away with the kickoff, but to severely alter it. No, there will be no two-man wedge. This is what they're proposing. This hasn't passed yet, but the kicking team won't be able to get a running start. The receiving team won't be able to band together at all. No wedges whatsoever. They outlawed the 3+ man wedge. Now they said there's not going to be any 2-man wedge at all. So no wedges whatsoever. So you have to basically get up and get a guy man on man. And some other things that they're talking about. But the writing is on the wall. The kickoff will be going away soon. If not this year, then the next few. What defensive back not names Williams, House, Jackson, or sorry, I missed the other one, has the best chance of? I gotta say Lindsey Pipkins. If I'm imagining you didn't list him in those 4 names there. Pipkins, I think, showed the most last year. As far as the undrafted guys, he showed a really good kind of knack for man coverage, and obviously that's a attribute that's needed in Pettine's defense. Pipkins has shown he's not afraid to get up at the line of scrimmage, get in the guy's face. He does a really good job of pattern recognition, and just generally, I think his combativeness and his his athleticism will make him kind of stand out above guys like Herb Waters or Donatello Brown, etc. It's going to be flag football in a minute. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I get those kind of complaints, but at the same time, once they move the kickoffs, it's almost all touchbacks now anyway. The biggest problem is, you're doing away with onside kicks and surprise onside kicks. That to me is how do you figure that? How are they going to square that? I don't think they're going to be able to, and that's a really unfortunate loss from a tactician kind of, planning wise, etc. But as far as we're losing kickoffs, football as we know it's going away. I don't know. I don't really care. It's a kickoff. They've been touchbacks forever for the last 4 or 5 years. The real change that I'm interested in seeing how they adjudicate is their new lowering the head rule when it comes to tackling. And the way it was worded at the owners' meetings, it sure sounds like every single play there could be a flag. Now, obviously, they won't officiate it that way. But one of the things they're going to be doing in this meeting this week is trying to figure out what exactly that means and how they want it officiated. Now, that rule could very well turn football into something we don't recognize. Not necessarily this year, but down the line. When is training camp? July 26th, I want to say, is the shareholders meeting. They haven't announced official training camp dates yet, but you can bet that camp will start shortly thereafter. Who's our starting running back? Ronaldo, I talked about that a little earlier. I would guess Aaron Jones would run away with the job eventually. Without the onside kicks, Rodgers would have 2 rings. Very nice. You're assuming they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I think that's a fair assumption. But the helmet thing won't be that big of a deal. Won't be called a lot. We don't know, Alex. We don't know what the rule is. That's my point. How can you say that with you don't even know what the rule is? How long before we re-sign Joe Callahan? Oh, that's a good question, Don. I don't know. We'll find out. That's a good question. Alexa, what did you think of the Green Bay Packers draft?
I don't have an opinion on that.
She doesn't have an opinion on that. Leave her alone, all right, guys? Gosh, geez, so pushy. When's vacation time? Jerry, I'll tell you. Hold on. Let me take a look here. 1, 2, 3, 3.5 weeks. Counting the days. Trade for Eric Flowers. They already have Jason Spriggs. They don't need another one. Actually, Jason Spriggs is probably better than Eric Flowers. That's the crazy part. Who will be the third tight end right now? Emmanuel Byrd. They have a couple that they brought in undrafted free agents, but right now I think Emmanuel Byrd's got the leg up, so to speak. The Eagles. Well, yes, Joe Callahan signed with the Eagles. But, you know, the inference is, I mean, heck, Joe Callahan signed with the Saints and Browns and he got back with the Packers. I mean, it's only a matter of time, people. Give it up. Just accept it. Joe Callahan will be a Packer once again. That's the joke. Anyway, obviously it's not a very good joke if I have to explain it. Does Devontae Mays crawl out of McCarthy's doghouse? He's kind of the forgotten man, right? Well, if he holds on to the football. What's funny is that last camp, Aaron Jones, his very first carry of camp, he fumbled without being hit. Non-contact fumble. And I remember Pete Doherty and I looking at each other going, ooh boy. Devontae Mays never fumbled. Running people over. Like, never, like, didn't matter how hard you hit him. Preseason, didn't matter. He just trucked people, no fumbles. His first 2 touches against the Ravens, fumbles. You never really know. But that's a hard stigma to shake, and it's a hard image to get out of a coach's head. I think Mays has got all the talent in the world. He could be an effective back in the NFL. He's got to prove he can hold on to the football. No doubt about that. Joan, what's up? Could Clark move to tight end? I know there was some talk about that last year online. I don't think they've ever seriously considered that. He's obviously a big guy, big specimen, but you know, he's got his hands full just learning how to play wide receiver. And you know, you start talking about moving him to tight end. Tight ends actually have more to do than the wide receivers do in the framework of the offense. So yeah, I think he's on the tight end, or he's on the wide receiver path, and they're gonna keep him there. How likely Devon House? I'm not sure that's a complete sentence, but I believe you're asking how likely is it that Devon House sticks around, or how likely is it Devon House gets cut? Either way, I think you know, there's a decent chance Devon House does not make the roster. Let's just put it that way. All right, everybody, I'm going to jump, but thank you so much for all the questions. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to yours. You guys are amazing. You fill up the comments each and every day. I'll be back tomorrow, barring any huge breaking news tonight. In the meantime, make sure you're checking PackersNews.com for all the latest. There's always tons of stuff up. Otherwise, have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow.